family. How are you? It is that time again. Welcome to the Prayer Cafe with Janelle. It is Sunday, and as you can see, I have a special guest here, which is my husband, um, Eric Robinson, and
Oh,
he's here to just participate in our conversations today. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I like working with him. We do really well together. So before we get started with our topic today, if you have not liked my Facebook page or you know some friends who need to like my Facebook page, go ahead on and like my Facebook page right now, Janelle J. Robinson. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube page, there are some nice videos on my YouTube page, and it's Janelle J. Robinson as well. And I also have a Gmail account where you can send me messages, you can leave me some comments, you can leave me prayer requests at Janelle J. Robinson one, the number one, at gmail.com. And I will be sure to get back in contact with you. So let's get started with our topic today. Oh, wait. Before we do that, if you don't have your coffee, please go and get it. Go get your coffee because this is a prayer cafe and this is where we have like our conversations and we're talking and you're drinking your coffee and we're learning together and doing all those kind of things. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to go get your coffee and then we're going to get started. So, do you have your coffee?
no, I don't drink coffee, so I mean, you can drink. I should have got some juice or
See,
something.
when you come to a prayer cafe, you don't always have to drink coffee. Some people get iced coffee, some people get lemonade, some people get juice when they go to a cafe. So, I just happen to get coffee because that's what I like to drink. And it's good too. So, let's get started. So, my husband and I were sitting down last week and we were talking about um, how sometimes you just feel like you're weighted down. You feel like you have so much to do. You feel like there are so many things on your list and you don't know which direction to take, or maybe you are going in the right direction, but it just becomes very overwhelming. And then my husband said, you know what? Then you need a spiritual timeout. And I was like, oh, that is so interesting that you said that because last week we talked about having balance in your life. And I felt like that would be a really good topic for us to talk about today, and having a spiritual time out. And what does that really look like? Because if we're trying to create balance in our life, then sometimes you're going to need to have that spiritual time out. So I kind of came up with a definition of what a spiritual timeout is. And so this is what a spiritual timeout is. This is what we collectively came up with. Maybe you have your own definition. That's fine. But this is the definition that my husband and I came up with. So a spiritual timeout is a time out to check in with God. Because if you're talking about spiritual for Eric and I means that we're in this thing together with God. We have a relationship with him, and we realize that trying to pursue those goals and the things that we have to accomplish, we cannot do it without him. So sometimes we need to regroup and we need to check in with God. And we're checking in with God for guidance, to help us to make the right choices and to help us to take the necessary steps that we need to take to move forward. And sometimes that's what you need to do. You need to have that spiritual time out to do that check in. As I was thinking about that, so I'm about to go off the beaten path, y'all, because y'all know I am not an athletic person. This person is that person. That is not me. And so he was actually laughing when I was coming up with this analogy. So when I'm thinking about a spiritual time out and checking in with God, I'm thinking about when you are on the court, when you are on the basketball court and the players are playing, and they running up and down the court and they making their shots and all the other stuff, and then the coach calls them over to the sideline because he needs to redirect them and maybe give them new plays, or tell this person to go do this, or tell this person to go do that, because you're trying to win. And you're competing up against the other team members, so you're trying to win, and he's trying to help you to get those points. So if I apply that to my life, I think about God being my coach. I think about, our purpose, and I think about, where God is trying to take us in a direction that He's trying to take us. And we talked about that last week, that, you have to have a plan. So I'm thinking about God being my coach. That spiritual time out is us sitting down and God revealing to us the next steps, like the direction that we need to go in next. Because sometimes you need to do that. Maybe we're going in direction, but maybe we need to go a different way. And that is our time to sit down and listen to our coach, which is God, to tell us what are our next steps, instead of us keep spinning our wheels on the little, us being on the hamster wheel going over and over again. So, why should we take a spiritual time out? The first thing we should do is take a spiritual time out because of self-care. You need to put God first, and taking self-care is to help you to remove yourself from the distractions. So I want to let my husband weigh in on that because he had a lot to say about that part.
Well, starting with your first point of why coaches call timeout. I mean, you did mention a lot of things, but this should make it easier for me to use my sports analogies in this same topic.
I tried.
Sometimes in a timeout, the coach will call you over to sit you on the bench. You might not like that as an idea, but when you take a timeout and you sit on the bench for a while, you get to see the big picture because you're not involved in what's going on. You get to sit back and watch and reassess what needs to be done. Because sometimes when you're in the moment of whatever crisis you might be going through, you can't quite see everything that's going on. And sometimes, God or a coach will see, that you're not operating as normal. So it's probably a good idea to sit you down for a few minutes so that you can refresh yourself and be a better participant in what's going on. We all have the same goal, and that's to win. But, if you're not playing your part, then it affects the rest of the team. So sometimes these timeouts can be beneficial to just refreshing yourself, or just so that you can see what is going on outside of it, the big picture, if you will.
So what about this? So that's a good point. I tell you, we work well together. But what about the self evaluation part? Like, what about that part? Like
the self evaluation part. Sometimes when the coach calls timeout, you're already asking, why me? Why do I have to come out? I'm important to this whole situation. But that's just the you and you. I mean, you're operationally good at what you do. It just might not look like it to the other person. So in other words, what you might be doing might not be translating to who else is watching what's going on. And sometimes these timeouts are necessary for you to sit back and ask why you on the bench and how you can get back in the game. So hopefully you're not sitting over there too long, but most of the time nobody likes to be called over to the side to sit down.
And this is what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking that when we used to go to Mercer and we used to watch our daughter play, and she's running up and down the court, she got a lot of energy. I felt like sometimes her coach called her out of the game because she needed rest. And when I'm thinking about self-care, sometimes on our way to the thing, the purpose, like, the thing, the assignment, or, we're working it, we're doing it, y'all saying you need a break. Like, you need to sit down, you need a break, you need rest. And we forget that we need to rest. We're constantly moving over and over and over and over again, where we do need to sit down and just say, you know what, I don't want to take no phone calls. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I don't want to deal with anybody right now. I just need a break. And I see my husband do that a lot. Like, whenever he wants to get away from, well, we both do that, kind of. We both do that. When we want to get away, not because we're trying to get away from each other, but sometimes we just need to process some information. I'll come to my prayer room and I will be in my prayer room and I'll be on the computer or I'll read a book, or I'll just lay on my sofa or write in my journal. Like that is my break. Like that is my rest. Where my husband, he'll go in his little man cave and he'll lock the door. Like he won't let nobody in. I don't even lock the door. He locks the door and nobody can come in. If I knock on the door, my son knock on the door, he won't even answer. Because that is his way of, I just need to get away from everybody and I need to process like what is going on. And that is okay. Like that is your time to recharge. Like your time to recharge and your time to study and listen and to hear what God is saying, because when we are moving, sometimes there's a lot of distractions and we hear everybody else's voice and we don't hear the coach. And we need to be so in tuned where we're able to hear the coach say, this is what I need you to do. This is where I need you to go. Okay, so then the other part of that is too, for self-care, is we talked about this last week, is learning how to say no. Now, I gave you my thoughts on learning how to say no, but I want my husband to give you his thoughts on why it's important to learn how to say no.
Well, it's important to learn how to say no because sometimes when you're passionate about something, other people around you know that you're passionate about it, and it's real difficult to say no. Like if you play a sport and somebody calls you, regardless of what you're doing, you'll probably drop everything to go do that thing that somebody asked you to do. In other words, it's a distraction, and the enemy knows you as well. Uh,
Mm.
what your distractions are. That thing is going to become a priority, and everything else that was important is put to the side. Again, that's those are the things that this is the reason why we need practice. Um,
Mm.
when we're secluded and by ourselves, we get a chance to listen. I wish sometimes I had a tape recorder, like when teams watch film, to go back and review what I did or what I could have did different. Sometimes when people are explaining to you in a tape recorder in your head, you probably recorded a series of other events that aren't looking like what the other person is explaining. So these distractions over time, do tend to weigh you down, even if it was just as simply as watching television. I mean, I'm not going to learn anything unless I'm watching National Geographic or the Nature Channel or some other kind of educational thing. For the purpose of entertainment, it is distracting, but when you look at the clock and look how much time you've wasted unproductively watching TV, you might call this a timeout, but is there something else that you could have been doing? So if the goal is to practice those things that we are going to execute in life, then we need to exercise those things more, because once we become complacent in those things, that becomes the priority. Just simple complacency, and then you stop doing those things that you need to do to function. So,
So that takes me to the no thing. I heard you say a lot about distractions, and I heard you say a lot about priorities, and something else important you said was like we have to remember what our end goal is. And it is true, like the devil knows what your end goal is, and he will send all kinds of distractions your way to get you off track. And so it's always important to know what your end goal is and stick to it. And no, I also talked about this last week too. If somebody brings something to you, evaluate, does this align with my end goal? Because maybe God sent somebody to you that aligns to your end goal, that will take you in a direction that God wants you to go into. But if it's just stuff that's going to take you off track, you do need to evaluate. You do need to figure out if this is a distraction and this is going to stop you from moving and forward in a direction that God has sent you. I'm just gonna give you an example. My husband and I were actually looking for, a house. We are not really sure. We do have an end goal in mind of what it's gonna look like, or even a time frame when we want to move. And so we're trying to stay focused. Like we're in the research phase right now. Just trying to stay focused. But God, let me tell you, we got some distractions right now, and I'm not even gonna go into the distractions that we have, but we are constantly reevaluating where we are, and we're sitting down and we pray together every morning, no matter what. But if we're evaluating where we are, what do we need to do, and getting rid of the distractions so that we can stay focused, because they will come. Distractions will come, and they will try to take you off the path, but you got to stay focused on the end prize, because even in basketball, distractions come.
They do. Tired, fatigue, especially when fatigue sets in, you tend to do things that you normally wouldn't do. Marriage in itself is a team sport, and to become one. Uh, Unfortunately, my practice is not her practice, so when we get to running plays, uh, she's it looked like she's not running her route, but we never had that conversation. So, and like I said, in my head, I might think that I should be going one way, and in her head, she might think she should be going another way. That's why practice is important when we sit down and we decide on the same strategy to get to where we're going. Even in First Peter 10, it says each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others. Now, I know what my role is in the situation, and I know what I bring to the table in the sport that I play, which is important to me. If I play the center, I can't play center and guard at the same time. It's not going to work. Uh, but some people attempt it and try it, and that leads to fatigue. Even in football, there's offense and defense, and some people play offense and defense. Over time, you get tired. So these are why these timeouts are necessary, because sometimes we won't take them. So, God being the coach that he is, he will find a way to make you take notice of how you need to step back and listen, because you're not listening. And sometimes we don't listen because we are self sufficient beings and we think we don't need to listen to anybody. But, God in his infinite wisdom knows us well. So he knows the things to put exactly in front of us. And these distractions, even if your goal is to move to a house, and things that you might not have taken into consideration
Right.
start popping up, those are the things that you need to take care of. Even though they weren't a priority, it was like, oh, I didn't consider that when I did this. So that's why these timeouts are necessary, so that you can sit back and reevaluate and see if what you're doing is for the greater good of the team or for the greater good of you.
Good. So that takes us into our next part. You need a spiritual timeout to evaluate. So that was great. Like, you ended up on started with the evaluate. So this is what I mean by that. Step back to see the process. Sometimes we try to jump too many steps because we are in a hurry to get where we are going. Slow it down. And so I want you to expound on that, because last week, this is what you said, and I actually wrote it down in my notes, because I thought that was really, really good. So I want you to talk about, why is it important to slow down and evaluate the process?
Well, to evaluating the process, everything has steps. Step one, step two, step three. Even though we might not do it, we are creatures of habit. However, we are also results-based beings. We want everything to happen now. And in this day and time, when immediate gratification is the thing that's on the forefront, we have to remember, we can't, like the commercial says, I want my money and I want it now. You might not get it now. So you have to trust the process. But when it looks like nothing is happening, we go get real creative and inventive, and that really doesn't help. It just complicates things. So sometimes that's why it's important to slow down, because the one thing you might miss, and I think, if I want to use another analogy, when they send you things in a box and it's got pieces, if you don't separate the pieces, then you might not put all of the pieces on. Sometimes they send you extra pieces, and that might be okay too. But you're still probably asking yourself at the end of this, where these extra pieces go, or maybe you left it out somewhere. Hopefully you didn't, but
we do that all the time.
I always say, make sure to count every piece before you start. This way,
Mm.
you know you have everything that you need. So if you have more than what you need, that's a good thing. But if you don't have more than what you need and you're missing something, or you put something together when it shouldn't have been put together, you're gonna have to take it back apart. And with the way these things are put together today, sometimes you can't take it back apart.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
just permanently on there. So
Yeah, I think about how our relationship worked. I'm like once my feet get on the ground, I'm like pew, I'm out. I'm like ready to go. Like you give me an idea, like all this stuff start going on in my head, and I could say, okay, we're gonna do this, that. Like the whole vision just comes together. And my husband like, pump your brakes, slow it down. Like because you like in a hurry, and did you think about this? Did you think about that? Did you think about this? Did you think about that? Did you think about like all the little details? And I'm like, no, I didn't really think about that. But so that's how like we work together. Like I get the vision, and I'm ready to go, and I could see it clear, like, oh my God, like we can do this, that, and that, because the gift of administration it just starts coming. And my husband, like, okay, so he sees all the details, like his discernment kicks in, and he's like, let's consider this, let's consider that. So it's important for us to slow down and process and trust that you will get to the end. So that's a part of taking that spiritual time out. So the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about for a spiritual time out is, what could you take out of your day? Let's think about your day, and while you're in your spiritual time out, you should be thinking, what could you take out of your day that's going to help you to be the better person that God is calling you to be, or that's going to help you be successful. So I'm thinking for myself as I'm go through my day. If I'm running around, like I'm gonna tell you, I took out going to the store shopping because that was a big deal for me. And my husband could tell you I love to do that. But since we've been on COVID, I've taken that out of my day, and I have become more productive in ministry. In my career goals, it has made me to become a more productive person. So I've sat down, I evaluated my life, and decided what was important and what was not important to me. And in my day, I just took out shopping online, going to the store to go shopping, except for going to get food. And that I have become more productive, and my mindset has shifted a great deal. So, what do you think about that?
well, I might not be by myself in this, but I must say I think everything is important. Um, so, with that in mind, we only get 24 hours in a day, and we always complain about how much time we don't have. But, if we look back in the Bible, God knew everybody had the same 24 hours. If we have to be mindful not to overindulge in things. Maybe for some it might be watching TV. Maybe for some it might be my favorite one, saying to yourself, I'm bored. If you're bored, then there's probably something you could do. You just don't want to do it. So you have to be mindful of getting those things from the to-do list to the to-done list so that you can actually take a spiritual time out, because nobody wants to take a time out when they got a bazillion things to do. So what, just be mindful of what you're adding to your list every day and see if you can take something out that is actually unproductive. If you get up in the morning and your first response is not to pray, and by the time you remember, it's okay. As long as you get it done before you get to where you're going, because all kind of things start happening when you get to the next step in the process. So if your process is to get up in the morning, and then the next step in the process is to end up at work, if you forget that thing that you need to do before you get there, when
Yeah, that whole day
all
is
mayhem
gone.
start hitting and
Yeah.
you have to remember, well,
Mm,
you probably forgot to do something
yeah.
before you left. So that's why it's important to remain disciplined in those things that
Yeah.
will help you out.
Yeah. Spiritual discipline is important.
That's where saying no and being okay with it, because sometimes you feel guilty, especially when your children ask you something you feel the need to go do it. Just say no. I know we say no to things that we don't want for ourselves, for our children. That's easy. No, because you don't want it. But those things that we desired at some point to do for them, and you haven't been doing it, and you've been thinking about it, it's going to become a priority because you didn't put it from the to-do list to the to-done list, so that you can say no the next time because you've already done it. So,
and that's a whole nother topic, because we got 2 grown children. Yeah, and they come to us with all kinds of stuff, and we had to learn how to say no, because if we keep stepping in, they'll never learn some things on their own. And sometimes they get mad, and sometimes they understand, sometimes they don't. But we are trying to make them grown adults, So it's hard. It's hard parenting grown adults, but it's hard parenting. You're still parenting grown adults. It's still hard trying to mentor grown adults.
Well, we are God's children, so he's mentoring us at the same time. So
and our parents still talk to us. And my dad used to tell me no all the time. When I turned 30, he was like, no. But whatever. That's a whole different topic. So the other thing is, our last topic is, what could you take out of your life? That's the difference in your day. Thinking about what could you take out of your life. Think about people that that you probably need to detach yourself from. Think about maybe places you might need to stop going to. Just think about what are some of the things that you need to take out of your life that's going to help you get to the end result, your desired results. So what do you think about that?
Well, what I think about that, if I can just go back to the team analogy thing, the one thing you'll find out about athletes is they like to play with people who are on their level. One, because they desire to get better. You're not getting any better by playing with people. Not to say that they're beneath you or you're better than them, but you seek out people who are doing greater things because you desire to go to the next level in what you're doing. So you're real careful about who you pick as your teammate and what they're bringing to the table. Doesn't make anybody better than somebody else, but if your goal is to get somewhere, you need people on your team who are going to do the things or execute those things. Like I know that in administrative things, that's one area I fall short. So I'm not going to be that guy that brings administration to the table. I will do a lot of things if you show me what to do. It's just a matter of, I'm that individual where if we're baking a cake, for instance, if something is missing, I'm probably not going to do it because I'm frustrated already because I don't have everything I need to go through the process. Some people, and this is where the skipping steps come in too. Some people are willing to just make it up as they go along. And sometimes that is fine, but sometimes you come out with a whole different product, which is never a good thing if you need that one ingredient to get where you're going.
So I like what you said about how you need the same people, the people that's on your team, y'all all go on the same place. And it doesn't mean that you're choosing people that are like, because you're better than anybody else. But I know that my friends that I have, we all have the same, like pretty much some of the same similar interests in common. And I hang out with people who are going to build me up, who are going to encourage me, and who going to check me when I'm wrong. And so I do evaluate the people that are in my life, if they are for me or not for me. And then how can I support them and help them as well to be the better people that God has called them to be. So I'm always evaluating that. Even the couples that we hang with, they're pretty much, like going in the same directions that we're going in. And if we're having issues or whatever, we know that we can like call on those people and they can help us. So you do want to evaluate your life, and you do want to evaluate which direction you're going in it, and what do you need to take out of your life, and what do you need to add to your life so that you can reach your end goal. So, with that being said, we are at the end of our time today. Normally, my segment is like 15 minutes, but since my husband is here, I decided to be a little bit longer today so that we could, cover this topic because it's been an important topic. And so I pray that you would share this message with some friends. Push the share button, like click it, like share with your friends. Remember at Janelle J. Robinson on my Facebook page, and subscribe to my YouTube page, Janelle J. Robinson. And also send me an email at janellejrobinson1@gmail.com, and I will be sure to get back and connect with you. So this is not going to be the last time you see my husband. You'll see him on here frequently. We've committed to maybe do some more segments together. It's good for people to see a married couple do things together. And we are in ministry together. And so I love him. He loves me, and we work well together. So enjoy your day, friends. And enjoy this beautiful Sunday morning that we have. I pray that you have a blessed day. And don't forget to share my page and watch the message.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. All right. Be blessed and have fun. Bye.